Happy Monday, wrestling fans. It's another edition of the J Area Wrestling Show. My name is Jose Ramos Jr. Welcome you to another live show reaction following Monday Night Raw. A decent episode of Monday Night Raw, I will say, being that it's the closing show up until a big weekend of wrestling, man. I mean, we got WWE Evolution on Sunday. Saturday night, of course, has Saturday night's main event, along with Great American Bash, the NXT PLE that'll be occurring, and then, of course, AEW all in a very busy week when it comes to pro wrestling shows and pro wrestling news. So I'm very happy and very blessed to have you guys here joining me on another live stream, choosing to spend your time here with us in the J area. Hopefully everyone's doing well. Hopefully the week ahead of you is something that's going to be great. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but with all this content coming out in regards to the WWE, AEW, TNA, I mean, Slammiversary is a couple of weeks away. So, I mean, a lot to talk about, a lot to digest here. We're going to give some people here an opportunity to join in on the live, join in and share their opinions on what just transpired on a Monday night. Shout out to Muhammad. I see you. Happy Monday. Hopefully you're doing well, buddy. Thank you for joining us, Muhammad. The show just came off the air maybe about a half hour ago. The closing shot, of course, being LA Knight getting the upper hand on Seth Rollins and his group, with Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker, of course, joining Seth Rollins. And I gotta say, I'm really happy with what they're doing with LA Knight. He's being presented as a main star here. He's being surrounded by, of course, the antagonistic group of Seth Rollins, Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed. And for me, it's all about optics. It's all about how it looks. And if I see a guy like LA Knight surrounded by the likes of Paul Heyman, Seth Rollins, perception is reality. I see him with stars. I'm thinking he's going to be a big star. And it's about damn time. It's about time. What's going on, Kent? Thank you for joining the live stream. Hope you're doing well, buddy. But LA Knight, ever since coming from TNA, back when it was Impact, or back when it was Global Force Wrestling, he was known as Eli Drake. He would go on to NWA, and then he would come over to the NXT brand and develop the LA Knight gimmick. And now seeing him in the main roster, for a couple of years now. Obviously, we knew him as Max Dupree for a bit, but ever since coming back to the LA Knight gimmick, slowly but surely, he's been rising to the top of the card. He's been across the ring from the likes of guys like Roman Reigns, obviously Seth Rollins nowadays, and being that I don't want to say he's old, but being that he's in the twilight of his years, it's a young man's game. And LA Knight, for the longest, was being criticized for being a little bit older than some of the other stars. But I look at a guy like Diamond Dallas Page, who in WCW, same story. A little bit of an older gentleman. Of course, Diamond Dallas got a late start, and LA Knight was always in wrestling. It's just he didn't get that push. So seeing him along the likes of Seth Rollins on Monday Night Raw, closing segment, really good. Ken says, we're still watching when it said you was live. Came to check your thoughts. Appreciate that, buddy. Appreciate that. We're back on a Monday night following a Raw where we saw a lot of destruction. We saw a lot of destruction today regarding the baby faces. Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, Penta. None of them were safe from Seth Rollins and his cronies, his group, if you will. We now know that Sami Zayn will be out of action indefinitely due to the attacks not only at the hands of Braun Breaker but of Karrion Kross as well, and we'll get to him in a second. But Sami Zayn, who I think should be a perennial babyface, I understand where they're going with this whole teasing of him being a heel, or at least having heelish tendencies. I totally get that. And if I'm Sami Zayn and I've been dealt the hand that Sami Zayn has been these last couple years, yeah, I could see him wanting to become a more aggressive version of himself. But me as a fan of Sami, I don't want to see him as a heel. He can develop an edge, that's totally fine. But he has always been, to me, the perfect embodiment of what a babyface should be. I look at him like a guy like Mick Foley, who no matter what these guys go through, no matter what type of trial, tribulations, whatever type of issues they have going on, these are always the kind of guys that I want to root for. So I don't want to see him as a heel. He had his heel stint from the early 2020s to about 2022, 2023. And it was fine, especially when he was in the Bloodline. I thought it was very entertaining. but it just never sat well with me. He's a baby face. He's got to be a baby face. So to see him get dropped by Braun Breaker with 2 vicious spears, of course, after the fact of Karrion Kross attacking him prior to the matchup, it's one of those things where you want to see the hero suffer, because in the end, when they win, when they get over the struggle, the obstacle that is ahead of them, it makes it feel all the much more sweeter. So Sami Zayn will be gone for a minute. Jey Uso, I don't think will be gone for too long. He took 2 tsunamis from Bronson Reed, and an office chair to the face as well. But I don't think he'll be gone for too long. Sami's going to be gone for a minute. Jey, maybe a week, 2 max. Penta, who suffered that loss to Seth Rollins, he's not going nobody. He's not going nowhere. He did suffer a little bit of a low blow there, followed by a curb stomp at the hands of Mr. Money in the Bank. But again, Penta, another guy like LA Knight, who has been consistently pushed on the main event scene. You know, he main events another episode of Monday Night Raw with a guy like Seth Rollins. That's a good showing for Penta. Great matchup against Seth. Really highlighted his highlights, really. You know, the best parts of Penta, being that his connection with the crowd is unmatched. I mean, to think that this guy debuted on Monday Night Raw not even 7 months ago. It was on the first episode of Monday Night Raw on Netflix, and to see the strides that he has made since then, Penta, along with Rey Fenix, I think have been tremendous additions to the roster, but Penta specifically. I love what they're doing with Rey Fenix and Andrade as a tag team, because you're now giving an opportunity to both of these men to be showcased on TV. But what they're doing with Penta is outstanding. All right, like always, but definitely I appreciate you stopping by for the live, Ken. Thank you, buddy. Sami has more guts than brains. I mean, don't all great baby faces? All the great baby faces have more guts than brains. I loved how Seth handled taking the back seat when Braun interrupted him. Yeah, for a second there, it was interesting to see Braun Breaker come to the forefront, take the microphone away from Paul Heyman and Seth Rollins, and he had something he wanted to get off his chest and talked about how he was just over Sami Zayn. He didn't want to talk about Sami Zayn. He wanted to get rid of Sami Zayn, and it really presented, Braun Breaker in a light that we haven't seen since joining Seth Rollins' group. He's always been, the quiet guy. He's the muscle. You know what I mean? Like, this guy, along with Bronson Reed, are very intimidating factors. So to see him take the microphone and now voice his displeasure, his frustration with this Sami Zayn problem, it really goes to, speak to how passionate Braun Breaker feels about his war against Sami Zayn. And also, it gives him an opportunity to shine as a single star. I know he was a single star for a little bit, but we know down the road, this group will break up, of course. I know they just started, but I think this is a vehicle to get the likes of Braun Breaker over the top. I could definitely see this playing out like Evolution, with Seth Rollins playing the Triple H role and Braun Breaker playing that Batista role. I think later down the line, whenever this happens, because eventually it will, I think we're going to see a similar breakup like Evolution. But again, that's way down the line. That's, wishful thinking. We're talking Monday Night Raw. We talked about Jey Uso. We talked about Penta. We talked about Sami Zayn. And being that we're talking about Sami Zayn, how could you not talk about Karrion Kross, who is his latest foe in the WWE? Obviously, we know that Karrion Kross took the loss at Night of Champions at the hands of Sami Zayn, and I, for one, had predicted Karrion Kross would win that match because I thought that he would benefit more from a victory. I thought Sami Zayn is a babyface. We're going to cheer him no matter what. We're always going to feel good for Sami Zayn, and Karrion Kross could have used that victory a lot more than Sami Zayn. But being that they gave Sami Zayn that victory and he was able to pull out a victory in Saudi Arabia, that led me to believe, okay, the story's not done because Karrion Kross cannot lose this match and lose all credibility. Instead, it lit a fire under Karrion Kross, and now that is back-to-back weeks that he has put his hands on Sami Zayn, and he'd help. He enabled Braun Breaker to put him on the shelf for an extended period of time. And then, I don't know, for those who were able to catch the interview segment with Karrion Kross, it takes place during the intermission, the commercials, but on Netflix, depending on how much you pay for your subscription, you can get by that and not have commercials. Luckily, I do that. So I got to see the interview with Karrion Kross and Scarlett, and the crowd was fully behind Kross. They were chanting, "We want Kross." And Kross, ever so the professional, was able to take that and segue into his promo. They said, "We want Cross, we want Cross," and he yells back at the crowd, "You got me." And I got Sami Zayn because of the way that Sami Zayn has been portraying himself as a good guy. Karrion Kross says he wants one thing. He wants one thing from Sami Zayn, and that's for him to say that Karrion was right. That Karrion was telling the truth when it comes to how Sami Zayn is hiding his inner demons, and he's not as good of a good guy that we see him to be. What they're doing with Cross is a slow burn. It's a super, super slow burn, because this is a guy who has been scratching, clawing to be on the top of the card for the WWE. It's back in NXT when he was the NXT champion, shaved head and everything. This guy was on fire. You know, he was the top heel. He was the top guy, skyrocketed to the NXT championship and held it on 2 separate occasions. When he gets called up to the main roster, immediately they have him get rid of the very presentation that got him over in NXT, and they present him with this gladiator / shredder type of a helmet, and it immediately just took away what we loved from Karrion Kross in NXT. Then there was the release, and then Triple H took over. He brings him back, and we saw a little bit of promise with Karrion Kross, but we never really reached the heights of that NXT run. Now we are building momentum. Slowly but surely, we are building momentum for Karrion Kross. Is it going to result in a world championship win? Probably not. But at this rate, you don't really need a world championship to be considered a major player in the WWE. Consistent booking, consistent appearances, and consistent work rate will do just fine. The crowd is already behind Karrion. It is now just a matter of the machine pulling the trigger and giving him opportunities to demonstrate his talents on a major stage, whether that be a SummerSlam, whether that be a WrestleMania, whatever they see fit. But I do think that the WWE does have an embarrassment of riches when it comes to talent. This is the most stacked the roster has been in years. They have so many players to have incorporated into their storylines. There's no wonder why there are so many factions, because they have so many stars. And there's always this complaint of, man, they're not doing anything with this guy. They're not doing anything with this guy. Where has this guy been? It's very difficult when you have so many players. But as long as you have something meaningful, it'll be okay. As I push away on the screen. Let's see. Let's go ahead back to the chat here. Kent says, the fact that Braun said Seth and Paul said he's the future and how he went about it, seeing the thumb down that broke up. I'm telling you, it's evolution. It's evolution all over again. Or you wait till it starts and rewind it to the beginning. It doesn't have the commercials on Netflix either. Yeah, but then I don't think you get the same interviews, like the in-betweens, like the commercials. And I try to watch it live. With SmackDown, I might watch it like on an hour delay to, fast forward the commercials. On Raw, I try to catch live because I like watching those in-between segments on commercials because you find little details. For example, here's a great example. There were many weeks where Chad Gable and El Grande Americano and the other members of American Made would be featured on those segments. And you would see people in the background. For example, Ludwig Kaiser would be lurking around, watching, their discussions. If there was an attack, Ludwig Kaiser was around. And you wouldn't know that if you didn't watch those in-between segments during the commercials. But now, we know that Chad Gable is out with an injury. Apparently he had shoulder surgery. He'll be out of action for quite some time. And the conspiracy theory is that he and El Grande Americano are one and the same. So, without Chad Gable in the mix, a lot of people were thinking, hey, if he's gone, then so is El Grande Americano. But Americano was scheduled to compete tonight against one Dragon Lee. Yes, Dragon Lee is still with the company because they don't really use him as much. That goes back to the loaded roster that they have. The only thing is with El Grande Americano, he seemed especially grande today. He was a lot taller, a little bit leaner, didn't have as much definition on his legs, if you will. And that leads people to believe that could be someone else, that it could be Ludwig Kaiser. Now, of course, we're playing fun and games and we're playing along with the story. We know it's Ludwig Kaiser. And the question is, where are we going with this? Are we going to see a babyface turn for either Kaiser or Chad Gable? I could very much see that this goes down to a battle of the El Grande Americanos, and we have a mask versus mask matchup between the two. I don't know if there will be a babyface in this program, because I find it very difficult for either one of them to be a babyface. Will it be a one-on-one contest for the mask? Will they be a tag team, perhaps? That could be in the works as well. Very interested to see where this goes, and how long is Chad Gable out for? Because Kaiser's a great worker himself, but with this El Grande Americano, gimmick, he won't be competing as Kaiser for quite some time. Maybe here and then, to try to, suspend disbelief and make people think that, hey, this isn't Kaiser, it's someone else. But I digress. Last week, someone was watching when Chad left. Who was that guy standing there? Is the stand-in. I'm pretty sure we're talking about the same. One of the same, Ludwig Kaiser. Every time Gable was in the back and talking with American Made, or for example, when Penta and AJ Styles, this is on two separate occasions. AJ Styles had punched Chad Gable in the face one time, and then there was the injury angle that they had with Penta and Chad Gable. Both times, Ludwig Kaiser was in the back, watching, and they telegraphed it. I love stuff like that, little details like that come into play, and you realize, okay, they did that for a reason, and then you just have to wait and see why. Now we know why. Kaiser is El Grande Americano. Where they go with that, I don't know. Thought it was funny when the Creed brothers said Chad won't stand for it. Yeah, they're in on it too, obviously. I love that they were trying to play it up too, that American Made doesn't know, but they obviously know, and Ivy Nile was telling them, like, hey, don't say anything or whatever. So it's going to be interesting where this heads from where it goes from now. One thing I am interested in is the women's division right now. The women's world title, we saw Io Sky will be defending that title against Rhea Ripley, presumably in the main event of Evolution. Should be a fantastic contest. Two of the best that the roster has to offer. Rhea Ripley, the biggest star of the division, and Io Sky, who I think is the best wrestler of the division. They'll be competing for the Women's World Championship yet again for that title. The story is, can Rhea Ripley beat Io Sky? She's never beaten her one-on-one, especially on this grand stage of the WWE main roster. That is the main storyline heading into their matchup. Again, it should be a great showing. I'll share my predictions later in the week for a live stream. And speaking of predictions, tomorrow we will have our weekly video. I have my predictions video for AEW All In. That'll come out tomorrow evening. It'll be tomorrow, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock p.m. on the West Coast. Depending where you are on the East Coast, we have to convert that. I'm not the best at converting time zones. We'll have an AEW All In predictions video up for tomorrow. Big week. Big week of wrestling this week. So I'm really looking forward to it. I talked about Io Sky, talked about Rhea Ripley. How could I not talk about the Intercontinental Championship? That Intercontinental Championship, it's on fire. I would think that should be the main event between Becky Lynch, Bayley, Lyra Valkyria. If I had to choose a main event for Evolution, that would be the main event. There are stakes. There's a championship. It's personal. It's three women at the top of their game, and they are firing on all cylinders. We do a weekly promo of the week. The gift of gab goes to my favorite promo of the week. The segment that had Becky, Bayley, and Lyra Valkyria, that is an early contender for this week's promo of the week. I loved every bit of that promo. Loved every bit of it. Becky Lynch, of course, we know is the champion. She's been the champion for a couple weeks now, really. Having her as the champion, I think it was the right call because she plays heel very well. I like that Bayley has this little bit of edge to her. We knew her as a babyface, we knew her as a heel, but right now she's a babyface with a purpose. She's on a mission. And then you have Lyra, who's trying to prove herself and regain that championship that she lost to Becky Lynch. I'm all for it. It should be the main event. Let's see. John, what's going on? Last episode was the best U.S. champions. I forgot to mention the worst Money in the Bank cash-in. Austin Theory cashing in for a mid-card title. It was terrible. It's the worst cash-in. It's the worst. He had the worst cash in, but I think the worst Money in the Bank winner was Otis. Kabuki Warriors should win the titles. I'm not opposed. Love the Kabuki Warriors, but I think it's a step backwards. They kind of, it's basically insinuated that damage control are not a thing anymore. I think it's just a one-off. I don't see. Actually, you know what? I'm not even going to talk about it because I want to save that for the prediction stream on Thursday. But I would love to see the Kabuki Warriors win. If you want more of my predictions, tune in for Thursday's live stream. What's going on, Dion? It says, I made it, buddy. I'm glad you made it. It's been a minute, but I'm glad you're here, my friend. It says, I hope Lyra retains. I love Lyra. I kind of want her to win. I'll leave it at that. I kind of want her to win. But again, tune in for Thursdays for my predictions. I disagree. Keep the straps on Rox and Raquel. That's okay. I'll give you this. That's where I would go. That's not a prediction. That's just where I would go. I would keep it on Raquel and Rox. I think those two are great together. It helps the Judgment Day storyline. Shout out to the Judgment Day, by the way, by holding all the gold. The tag team champions, Rox and Raquel. The world tag team champions, JD and Finn. And then you have Dominic as the IC champion. They are dripped in gold, buddy. They are dripped in gold. I love the AJ Cake segment. That was great. Between the AJ Cake where he says, get well soon, Dom, and he's in the back. Love that. But also the doctor's note from last week where he was reading, the doctor's note with Dominic last week. Those were back-to-back great segments. Love it, man. A lot of matches feel thrown together. Terrible. You know what the problem is? I'm all for more wrestling. I never get tired of it. In my spare time, I'm throwing on old matches. I'm a student of the game. I'm always watching it in some form or fashion. Whether it is watching a match, whether it is a documentary, whether it is an interview, a podcast, whatever the case may be, 9 times out of 10, if I'm consuming some form of media, it has something to do with the business or the shows. But I don't like how they jam-pack a weekend full of stuff. You could spread this out, man. But instead, Saturday, we have the Great American Bash, early afternoon. Saturday night's main event, late evening. And then Sunday, Evolution. And then on top of that, it is sandwiched between Friday Night SmackDown and Monday Night Raw. It's a lot. I think they should space it out. Saturday night's main event specifically, I thought that should be like a quarterly type of a show. This is like the third one in 5 months? And maybe if you even go back to January and December, there was one in December, there was one in January, there was one in May, there's now one in July. That is 4 since, in the last 7-8 months? They got to space these shows out. Because you're right, I feel like a lot of things are getting thrown together. They're not getting the proper time to build and breathe. And they don't come off as genuine. They don't come off as organic. Some of them just feel thrown together. Case in point, Randy versus Drew McIntyre at Saturday night's main event. That one just feels thrown together. Goldberg versus Gunther. Albeit that it was built at last year's Bad Blood, but there was so much time in between that now it just feels like, okay, it just sprung together. Why did Goldberg wait this long? It's one of those things. Shout out to the leaked matches from Monday night. Pittsburgh, a lot of it was spoiled, but oh well. What do you suggest they do? It's tough, especially in today's day and age of social media. People are trying to get the scoop. People are trying to get the likes. People are trying to get the engagement. So naturally, how do you do that? You get the exclusive content and you spoil the show and you talk about what is being presented on the PLE card as well as the SmackDown itself. There's not much you can do, because people are going to have their phones. People are going to be online. People are going to post whatever they post. Ultimately, me as a consumer, that is my responsibility to what I want to consume. So when I hear that there's a tape show, okay, I do the same thing with movies. I stay off the internet and I try not to spoil it for myself. People in my house, they already know, hey, he doesn't want spoilers. Let's not spoil it for him. It's difficult to avoid spoilers nowadays. Sometimes you just got to stay off of social media. And unfortunately, it sucks. But in this day and age, people are trying to get that scoop. They're trying to get the exclusive content, and they're going to spoil the show. If you're going to do that, man, go ahead and put a spoiler disclaimer at the least. Put a disclaimer that says spoiler. Don't ruin the fun for everybody. Well, gotta find a way to get my AEW news now because my cable has to get cut off because the government cut my check. Ah, man, I'm sorry to hear that. I can't. But at least got Netflix too. Do you have Max? Because on HBO Max you can get the Dynamite and Collision if you have Max. That CM Punk Cena match should have had a 4-week build, and also that Trish Stratton match. LOL, no build whatsoever. So here's the thing: the Punk versus Cena match should have been SummerSlam. I will die on that hill. That is a SummerSlam matchup. That is Money in the Bank. You could have did it for Money in the Bank too. That definitely grinded my gears. I didn't like that it was in Saudi Arabia. Nothing against the country, nothing against them, but it's just because, really, on a C tier pay per view, it should have been on SummerSlam. Money in the Bank at the very least. Now, granted, when you have two stars like Cena and Punk, there's not really much of a build required. Because if you see on the card Punk versus Cena, you're going to watch it, right? I mean, I know I would. If there was no build at all, I would watch it. But again, it goes back to the proper build, the promos, the feeling of that matchup. I want to be emotionally invested. And for some people, that's necessary. When I put it this way, if there is a new fan, let's say it's a kid, 8 years old, just to throw a number out there, that 8-year-old would have been born in 2016, not having seen Punk versus Cena the first time around. But for someone like you and I, who have been watching the shows for years, we can reminisce. We can go back and remember the Punk versus Cena feud from way back when. So it's okay for us. But I think for the entire fan, for the casual fan, you gotta get people invested in the story. Invested in the people involved. It goes a long way. You could take a mid-match, but with the proper build and the proper investment in the story, it could elevate that match. And it also matters where you have the match. They had it in Saudi Arabia. I'll give them credit. They were a good crowd. They were a better crowd than they've been in the past. But you put that crowd, or you put that match in front of like Chicago, Philly, New York, hell, even LA. It means something, man. It means different. But again, Saudi Arabia had a good showing at Night of Champions. It's just not Chicago or Philly. I mean, those guys, those guys are some, different type of animal. And then as for the Trisha and Tiffany build, I don't like when it's like the champion gets to choose their challenger. I think that's such a cop-out. I think it's so dumb. I don't like when they do that. The champion gets to choose their challenger. No. Now, it would be different if it's like people were coming out to, pitch, to voice their claim. Let's say someone like Nia comes out, I should get a match. Or here comes Jade, I should get a match. And then Charlotte, I should get a match. And then Trish finally comes out. And then have it discussed. And then maybe have Tiffany choose that way. Maybe. If you're going to have someone choose that way, I don't know. I've always been of the mindset that you should earn your championship. You should earn that championship matchup. I don't like when things are just given like that. Am I still going to watch the match? Absolutely. It's Trish Stratus. Absolutely. One of the greatest things to come ever out of Canada. But I don't like when they get to choose their opponents. Io did the same thing. You should win the opportunity for that title. I will keep you updated, Kent. No worries. That's why we have the channel. And with TNA, on the ranks here, climbing up, you can expect me to cover more TNA as well. So long as people are interested, I will cover every and any brand that I can. WWE is the main flagship. We have a lot of WWE fans here on the stream. AEW, we're starting to get people more interested here on the channel. And then TNA. I mean, if you like NXT and you like the WWE, TNA is probably closer to that type of wrestling than AEW. So, dethroned by Eli, what's going on, man? Says, I wish Christopher Daniels would have been NXT or WWE champion. He would have had a better opportunity if he would have been like Samoa Joe and like Bobby Roode during that period of NXT. Had he jumped to NXT, like in the 2014 to 2018 era, Christopher Daniels definitely could have done so. Would he have worked as a WWE champion? I don't think so. I don't think so, especially under the Vince regime. But then again, you got guys like Daniel Bryan and CM Punk who had won the world championship. So could it have been possible? Sure. But I think he would have fared very well in a Triple H led NXT. And it's a shame that he didn't get a good run in WWE. Granted, he never really had a main run. He was during some dark matches in 2001, on like episodes of Heat and Jacked. But Daniels is one of the best to ever do it. I mean, one of the few individuals to have competed in WCW, WWE on the dark matches. TNA, NWA, AEW, ECW, like he's been everywhere and everywhere. This guy is a journeyman. He's one of the best wrestlers to do it in this generation, maybe of all generations, but it's certainly one of the best. Dion says Roman versus Cena one last time. As much as I would love to see it, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think there's enough time. We only have, 5 months left in the year? And that's a big match where you can't just have it as a one-off. That's a PLE match. I don't think they have enough time for that. Sanford says, I only watch the PLEs for the green shirt guy. I mean, don't we all? Shout out to the green shirt guy. Smiley, I believe, is what he goes by on social media. Sanford, it was the orange shirt guy tonight on Raw. Surprised it wasn't in front of a Boston or Miami crowd when it dealt with CM and John. Yeah. Ken says, wish Abyss. Oh, Abyss would have been a fantastic addition. I saw reports and rumors way back when that during WrestleMania 23 in 2007, Detroit, Michigan, of course, there was rumors that they wanted to bring Abyss from TNA and have him compete against Kane at WrestleMania 23. That would have been quite the matchup. Two monsters going at it. Kane against Abyss. People say like Abyss is the more athletic, the better wrestler version of Kane. But man, that would have been quite a sight. I had just watched an Abyss matchup last night. It was him versus Bully Ray in a Monsters Ball matchup back like in I want to say it was 2013, 2014. But yeah, Abyss was something else. Sir Robert, what's going on? Will the pop for Liv Morgan's return be the biggest pop in the history of female wrestling? I don't know about the biggest pop. I think it'll be one of the bigger pops in recent memory. But I mean, what is the biggest pop in women's wrestling? You'd have to go to some of the bigger stars. Trish got some big pops. Lita got big pops, but not like nowadays. Nowadays are big pops. Becky winning the Rumble. I was in attendance for when Becky Lynch won the Rumble. And I mean, that was a pop. When they announced that she was going to be taking that last spot. Oh man, or Alexa Bliss had a very big pop during her return at this year's Rumble. I mean, the way the crowd reacted to her return, I haven't seen in quite some time, at least for the women's division. Maybe there's a shot there, Sir Robert. I don't know. I don't know if it'll beat that. See, Dion agrees. The biggest pop I've seen was Alexa Bliss recently. That was a big one. Like that honestly, I'm getting chills thinking about it. That was a big pop. Dion, looking forward to the CVV interview with Steve Blackman. That's right. Sanford, I don't know if you saw that, but Steve Blackman has an interview coming out tomorrow with Steve Blackman and Chris Van Vliet. Looking forward to that. I never miss an interview with Chris Van Vliet. This guy is great. Love his interviews. Love his segments. He has every Friday also on his podcast, Ask CVV, where he just answers questions from people who are on Spotify, on YouTube, and Twitter and whatnot. I love it, man. CVV is a big inspiration for what I want to accomplish with this stream, with this channel rather. Kent says, I know a big women's pop that doesn't get talked about is when Rockin' Robin won the title back in the day. Whoa, man. Rockin' Robin, that's way back when. We're talking like the 80s over here. It doesn't get talked a lot about because that was just such a far gone era of women's wrestling. That was back when Wendy Richter, Velvet McIntyre, Fabulous Moolah, the Jumping Bomb Angels, the WWE doesn't really talk about them as well. That early incarnation of the women's division. Of course, after that, we would see the likes of Alundra Blaze, Bull Nakano, Bertha Faye, all be additions to the roster. But they don't really talk about that. How far can Karrion Kross go now that he's getting more TV time? What's his ceiling? You know, I hate to say it. I don't think he ever wins the world title. I would love to be wrong. I would love to be wrong. I don't think he wins the world title. I think his ceiling is what Drew McIntyre has been this last couple years. Drew has been in the main event scene. He has been competing for the world championship. He has been competing for high profile feuds that have led to maybe Hell in a Cell and other matches of that quality. I would love to see him become a world champion. I don't think he'd win the WWE title. I think he'd probably win the world title. But I think his ceiling is where Drew McIntyre is right now. And be like that upper mid card to main event scene, but just doesn't win the world championship. So maybe he takes Drew's spot and Drew moves up into the main event scene and wins the WWE title. I would love to see Drew win the WWE title or the world title, but regardless, Drew needs to win that world championship back. They have teased it for a few years now. He's done the best work of his career in the last calendar year, and they have to reward that. They have to acknowledge that. So I'm hoping that Drew gets bumped up a level and then Karrion takes that heel spot where Drew is at right now. Where was CM Punk tonight? And I just wanted to send my condolences to those who were affected by the Texas flood tragedy. Agreed. Yeah, it's a terrible timing and a terrible incident that happened with the flooding. So many people, so many lives lost and lives impacted by what had transpired during the flood. As for CM Punk, I mean, he's taken some time. The last time we saw him was during Night of Champions. He got screwed out of the World Championship against John Cena. We're probably gearing up for his next feud, whether it's against Seth or not. I do think that at Saturday night's main event, Seth is going to beat LA Knight. I don't see LA Knight winning. And someone's returning. Whether it is Punk or Roman, one of them is going to be at Saturday night's main event to attack Seth Rollins. So maybe we'll see him Saturday, Muhammad. Is Seth Rollins sending money to Tony Khan? Think about it. Okay, hold on. Let's hear him out. Okay. Before his feud with Cody, and now Punk, he was a middle card dude. Now, I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that, Sir Robert. Because when AEW first formed, when they first came to the creation of AEW, and they announced Double or Nothing, Seth Rollins won the Royal Rumble that January. He had went to WrestleMania 35 and defeated Brock Lesnar in a good match. Short but good match by Brock Lesnar standards. He held on to that championship for the summer, lost it to Brock, won it back, and had consistently been in upper mid-card feuds. He wasn't a main eventer the way he is nowadays. But I wouldn't say he was a mid-card guy. I wouldn't say that. I will say he has benefited greatly from these feuds with Cody and CM Punk. Those two have certainly been able to get really good content out of Seth Rollins, not only in the ring, but in promos, as well as his character traits. He has stepped his game up since then. I don't think he's paying Tony money either. Tony got money as it is. I don't think he needs that much. Dion, I agree with you. AJ and Dom's segments feel like the throwback television lore, or television love to see some nostalgia for once. I agree. I miss those kind of backstage hijinks, those little details between two wrestlers that get you invested in the story. We don't see a lot of that. It's really become more sports based, and it's a lot of interviews, a lot of backstage segments where it's interviews and promos. We don't get to see them interact as much without the likes of like Jackie Redmond or Kathy Kelly being around. But to see AJ kind of following, Dom and ensuring that he's, recovering from his injury, and he's waiting for him, and he said, "I'll be ready when you're ready," saying, "Get well soon, Dom," with the cake. I like stuff like that. It's very entertaining. AJ Styles is one of the greatest of all time. We got to appreciate him while we can, folks, because AJ's time it's coming up. I saw somewhere, I'm sure you saw him as well. There are reports saying that he recently re-signed, or not even re-signed, but just signed a 1-year extension. And AJ has said that he wants to go until 50. Once he hits 50, he's going to hang up those boots. So we got to appreciate while we can. On a side note, WWE Unscripted is coming out, where they reveal how everything is a work and kayfabe is 100% exposed. I think they should do away with it. It's a really horrible idea. It's tough. I could see it from both sides of the spectrum. Kayfabe is dead. Best believe. Kayfabe is dead. In the age of social media, it is very difficult to keep kayfabe alive. Now, do they have to lean into it, by presenting such exclusive content like documentaries? They don't have to, but it is smart business. People are naturally interested in that kind of stuff. I know I was growing up as a fan. I wanted to learn the ins and outs and behind the scenes of some of my favorite wrestling storylines. So I can't blame them for capitalizing on it. At the end of the day, everybody knows it's a show. It's a high production theater. It has athletics, it has theatrics, acting, stunts. It's everything you could imagine jumbled into one big ball of sports entertainment. So I can't blame them for producing a behind the scenes look. That doesn't bother me. Doesn't bother me one bit. What does bother me is when, for example, like the post conference shows following a PLE, and they have to sit down at the desk and they're having the media ask them questions. Sometimes it feels like a blend of kayfabe or shoot. You got to stay in one lane. Is it story or is it not story? You can't blur the lines there. One thing that really kind of grinds my gears is when The Rock will do something on TV as the final boss, and like literally a half hour later in the post conference show, he will talk about how the character of the final boss. Like, dude, we know it's a character. You don't have to keep telling us that this is a show. Play it up as the character. I don't want you guys to tell me it's a work. If you do it separately on a documentary, totally fine, no problem, because you can choose not to watch that. But I don't like when they outright just tell you, well, the character of the final boss and what I'm doing with this. It's like, dude, come on. Dude, we know. Plus, being the fact that kayfabe is dead, when it's like stuff like R-Truth, it's really rewarding when they're able to blur those lines of reality of whether he was released or whether he was re-signed. It makes it feel all the more special when it's like you question it, like, whoa, is this real? Or is this part of the story? So, even though kayfabe is gone, I'm glad to know that, hey, there are these instances where we can still be surprised. I agree with you, Muhammad, 100%. I'm more of a Jackie Redmond fan myself. They said Triple H is punishing CM Punk for their feud back in the day by putting him in the Night 1 main event at WrestleMania and basically just being thrown in the mix. What do you think? I don't buy that, Dion. I don't buy him being punished. For the Night 1 main event, let's be real. Did we think he was going to main event Night 2 with, John Cena and Cody Rhodes? He was not going to. Cena versus Rhodes was always going to be that main event. That's not a punishment. And then being thrown around in the mix. Is he being thrown around in the mix? Punk returned, Survivor Series 2023. And immediately there was intrigue for the Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins feud. Two feuds that have went on an extended amount of time. And I think are successful feuds. CM Punk would go on to have a great feud with Drew McIntyre. In my opinion, it was rivalry of the year. They had a great strap match. They had a great SummerSlam match. And a fantastic Hell in a Cell match that, to me, re-established what it meant to have a meaningful Hell in a Cell matchup. Aside from that, he would also have a great War Games showing and started that Roman Reigns Paul Heyman feud. The Seth Rollins feud continued. I think he's gotten the best out of John Cena. During this farewell tour, Cena's best work, both in ring and promo, has came against CM Punk. So I don't agree that he's being thrown around. I think CM Punk is one of the more consistently well-booked characters on the show. Will there be a segment like Al Snow did where he gave out Val Venus' number on his... No. Nothing like the Attitude Era. That's such a, again, far gone era. I wish Sammy comes back. She's so good in either put a 3-man commentary with Corey Graves, but he is really good as well. He deserves to be on SmackDown or Raw. Like Samantha Irvin? As for the commentary, I disagree. I don't like 3-man booths. Sometimes you can get away with it. Sometimes. But I'm just so much of a traditionalist where I like to see 2-man booths. I like Pat McAfee. He's fine. But if you ask me to pick between him and Corey Graves, I love Corey Graves as a commentator more than Pat McAfee. Because Pat McAfee is good for comic relief, and that's it. Corey Graves can give you a little bit of comic relief, but he reminds me of a throwback. And I'm not saying he's Jesse Ventura, but it's like that's what he is to me. He used to wrestle. He knows the business. He knows the ins and outs. He understands the maneuvers. He understands the stories. He's able to get over the story and get over the wrestlers involved. Corey Graves did a phenomenal job during the Worlds Collide show alongside with Conan, which I thought Corey Graves was carrying Conan in that booth. But nonetheless, I think Corey Graves is great where he does. I think he should stay on Raw. Pat McAfee is fine. He can show up for guest appearances. And if you're going to do a three-man booth, you can give him Corey, Pat, and Michael, with Pat being a guest every now and then. But I firmly believe it should be Corey Graves and Michael Cole. Nick Khan and Triple H need to listen to what the fans want more. It would make for a better product. It just seems like they're all about money, and it shows that the shows aren't bad, but certainly things are bad. It's like complacency. You know what it is? It's complacency. It's a business at the end of the day. So as long as the money is being made and the crowds are showing up and the viewerships are going up, they're going to continue to do what's working for them. I do think it would behoove them to listen to the crowd more often. However, you don't want to give them everything all the time. You want to have them come back for more. What I mean by that is, let's say we wanted a guy like Daniel Bryan to win the WWE Championship, right? And they didn't push him initially because over time the fans started to clamor for Daniel Bryan. They became more obsessed with seeing him rise and win the World Championship. If you just give them what they want, there's no hype, there's no drama. You got to get the fans to become invested. So I think in that regard, for sure. But when it comes to build, for me, it's build. That's my problem. Some of these matches do feel thrown together. They are producing good matches, but I want a little bit more build. And I have so many shows being jumbled into 1 week. Tag Team division on Raw sucks, and the women's titles are pretty much no-goes, and the White Six are pretty much afterthoughts, as well as Aleister Black. Chelsea Green needs a better push. Okay, I want to break that down, Dion. Okay, so the Raw Tag Team division, I agree, it's not good. SmackDown Tag Team division is way better. Way better than the Raw brand. The women's titles are pretty much no-goes. At least with Tiffany and Io, yes. The Intercontinental title, good. The U.S. title, U.S. title is kind of lacking ever since Chelsea Green lost it. But with Julia as champion, I'm hoping that changes. The White Six are pretty much afterthoughts. I disagree. We are now starting to bring them back to the forefront. They're having another tag team opportunity for the championships. So again, we're starting the reconstruction, the rebuild of the White Six. As for Aleister Black, I don't think so. I look at Aleister Black and I think he's going to be a major player. They're putting him along the likes of Carmelo Hayes. They had him in the ring with R-Truth at his hottest on the roster. Damian Priest, a big-time player as well for the WWE. I think Aleister Black will be a player. You got to give it time. There's a lot of stars on this card. On top of that, SmackDown's going back to 2 hours, so you're going to be losing an hour worth of TV time. Chelsea Green needs a better push. Chelsea Green won the U.S. title and was the most entertaining part of the women's division for months on end. You can argue is still one of the more entertaining aspects. Now, if you mean to go after the World Championship, I am super down for that. Now, to say a better push, I think she's been pushed just fine. However, if you mean to the next level for the world title, then I concede. Then I totally agree with you. I would love to see Chelsea Green up in that realm. However, as a comedic role, as a comedic character, there is a ceiling when it comes to that. How credible can she become as a world champion if she's a comedy character? That's why I don't think we're going to see a guy or a girl like Chelsea Green win the world champion as this current character. It's the same reason why Santino and R-Truth never won that world championship. They teased it, but they never pulled the trigger on it. To my point earlier, Seth Rollins didn't have a match at WrestleMania when Cody debuted against him. Y'all have a great night. Appreciate that, Sir Robert. But he was going to wrestle. Like, we all knew that. Whether or not he was going to be against Cody, he was going to have a matchup. It's just a matter of that's how the story came about. They need to do away with Naomi and Jade unless they decide to throw Bianca in there. The New Day, the New Day are pretty much it. But they still have the Viking Raiders. They have the Judgment Day. They have the Creed brothers. Since they're not really doing anything with them. By the way, why the hell is Ludwig Kaiser playing El Grande? So I'll come back to El Grande, but I do want to talk about Naomi and Jade. They're gonna finish that feud here at Evolution. No holds barred. It's the finale of their matchups. For now, it's good. They're gonna come back to it, but for now, this is gonna be the final matchup. Bianca's not back yet, but when she is, again, I'm sure it'll reignite the feud. As for Ludwig Kaiser, this is how I interpret it. Kaiser hasn't been doing anything of late. He's trying to get TV time. He promised people that during WrestleMania season he would be in the forefront. Never was. We haven't seen Kaiser in a minute. He sees this as an opportunity to now leech off of the name of El Grande Americano and become a little bit more infamous, a little bit more notoriety on his part because he's taken that opportunity away from Chad Gable. Chad Gable has capitalized on it, becoming one of the best characters in the WWE, and Kaiser, for sure, is going to benefit from that now. We're going to get a little bit more eyes on Kaiser. It's a way to establish him as a top guy as well. Maybe a mid-card guy. Maybe not top guy, maybe mid-card guy. But again, why is he playing El Grande? We'll get that answer. Obviously, we're not going to get it in the first appearance. You got to give it time. But over the course of the story, I'm sure we will come to realize why Kaiser is taking advantage of that. Ken says he's more Jerry Lawler than Jesse the Body to me. Okay. I never liked Jerry Lawler. Never, he's above Jerry Lawler for me. I was never a Jerry Lawler guy. They're also fumbling the ball with Io. She is a damn good champion, and she should not lose to Rhea on Sunday. Hey, I agree with you. I cannot disagree. Io is fantastic. She is the best women's wrestler. Absolutely. Absolutely. And the fact that she's only had, maybe one title defense since WrestleMania 41 is criminal. But I don't know what they're doing with that. I don't know. But I do agree with you. The stuff with Io is irritating. Because they probably are going to have her drop that title. Will Pat McAfee be doing Saturday night's main event this upcoming Saturday by any chance? I doubt it. He's been gone for 5 weeks now. I haven't seen what it is, whether it's personal, family, business. I don't know. He's been gone for 5 weeks now. I don't see him doing it. I could see it being Corey and Michael Cole. Maybe even Wade Barrett. One of those guys. But we know that Joe Tessitore and Jesse Ventura are the hosts of Saturday night's main event. But I don't see Pat showing up. John says, I think Orton turns heel 2009 style. He destroys both Cena and Cody, and Seth does the heist of the century again. Could be onto something. You could be onto something there, John. Love mommy, though, don't we all? Shout out to Rhea Ripley. Heel Randy is definitely coming. Get your popcorn. He's on, dude, he's coming. He's just around the corner. I can feel it. El Grande versus El Grande. LOL, who's the real one? I'm thinking it's gonna go one of two ways. Either we're gonna get a tag team out of it, El Grande and El Grande, or it's gonna be mask versus mask. But then again, if they do mask versus mask, they can't do a heel versus heel match, can they? Would people actually like that? I mean, you have to have a baby face, right? I guess you don't have to, but ideally you would. Drew woke up the bald Orton demon. Dude, Randy is a menace. Rip to Sami Zayn. Sammy's my guy, but he's going to be out indefinitely. It's a new month, guys. It is July. And being that it's July, we do have an opportunity here through YouTube to award some memberships here on the channel. When you become a member of the Main Event Mafia, you do get exclusive content, whether it is the shorts, whether it's polls, posts, or you are the first to view our newest uploads every week. Also, you do get an icon next to your name, next to your username, in the form of a championship. If you're a new member, you'll start off with the NXT Championship, and over the course of the membership, you'll be upgraded to other titles. Obviously, the main title there is the Hall of Fame. So you have individuals like San Fran, Mama Ramos, Gabs, all have the United States Championship, symbolizing how long they have become a member of the Main Event Mafia. So without a further ado, let's go ahead and give away another select few memberships here. It's getting a second here to think about it. Uncle Ben, G, Sir Robert, Gianna Forever. Shout out to Gianna Forever, a longtime viewer of the stream. And you are cozy, all members of the Main Event Mafia. You guys get access to exclusive content like everybody else here in the Main Event Mafia, as well as the exclusive icon next to your name symbolizing you as a member of the Main Event Mafia. It also helps me distinguish you from other members of the stream and be able to get first replies in the comments. Appreciate you guys, of course, as always, supporting the live stream and supporting the channel as fans of pro wrestling. Muhammad says John Cena and Randy Orton will be a heel at the same time. Maybe a double turn. Who knows? If it is a heel and heel, though, maybe a heel tag team? Like a one-off tag team? I'm not saying like a full tag team, but just a one-off. They did New Day versus Judgment Day. Heel versus heel makes for some good matches because the match, my friend, was freaky. It was a great match. And that is a fair point. That was a heel versus heel matchup. I just wasn't sure if they were going to do it for the El Grande Americano stuff. You know? Because he is a heel. At least with the Judgment Day and New Day. New Day are full heels, but the Judgment Day are entertaining enough where they can get away with like a tweener type of a character trait. But I agree, it was a great matchup. I also like the switch up, especially when there are stakes involved. That's fair. When it can't be a one-on-one affair, just heel versus heel. If it's a championship involved, you can get away with that for sure. But again, if you guys are just joining us here on the live stream, my name is Jose Ramos Jr. I'm a fan of pro wrestling. We have our live streams on Monday, Thursdays, and on the weekend as well. We're going to be wrapping up on this live stream shortly, but I still want to give people an opportunity to join up in the comments, in the chat, and voice their opinions or questions. I mean, we'll make sure to get to every one of them as soon as we can. This upcoming week is a big week in wrestling. We have Saturday night's main event, the Great American Bash, All In, and Evolution, all in the span of one weekend, sandwiched in between Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown. So you'll be seeing me a little bit more often here on the live streams, talking wrestling with all of you. And of course, we do have another video coming out Tuesday evening. It'll be the All In 2025 predictions video, where I share my thoughts, my analysis, and my predictions for every single match that's currently scheduled for the All In card. If you're into pro wrestling as much as I am, not just the WWE, but also a little bit of TNA and AEW, I urge you to check out that predictions video because it's going to be their biggest show of the year, their biggest stars, their biggest matchups. It's the perfect time to be a pro wrestling fan and the perfect time to join the J area. Awesome. Sir Robert is awesome. When is Kurt Angle going to be El Grande? Can you imagine? That would be crazy if we had an appearance by Kurt Angle and have him dress up as El Grande or have some kind of some interaction with El Grande. That would be awesome. Dion says Ludwig may turn face since Gunther's forever going to be a heel. And you could go back to the early days of their SmackDown run where he was chopping the hell out of Kaiser and you kind of developed sympathy for him. So maybe. I mean, Tiffany's a babyface. Muhammad says Collision is on Thursday. That is correct. Collision is on Thursday this week. Monday Raw, Tuesday NXT, Wednesday Dynamite, Thursday is going to be Collision and Impact, Friday Night SmackDown, and then of course the weekend's festivities being Saturday night's main event, also with All In and the Great American Bash and Evolution on Sunday. Salute to Big Neff Network. How you doing, buddy? Dion says, I wish Gunther would squash Bill, even though I know it won't go like that, but Bill can't leave with the title right. So Gunther wins how? Or does Goldberg win and Seth cashes in? I do not think that Seth cashes in on the same night that he's competing. He's going to have a matchup against LA Knight. I think he gets the victory over LA Knight, but I do think that Bill Goldberg is going to sleep. I think he's going to sleep. I don't think Gunther's going to pin him. I think we're going to see a spear for sure and a Gunther kick out. I said this match better not go over 7 minutes. I promised you guys. I said if this match goes over 7 minutes, I'm going to have San Fran chop me. And I'll post it on a short. It cannot go over 7 minutes. I'm seeing Gunther is going to get the better of Goldberg and put him in a sleeper hold. And quite frankly, for the lack of a better phrase, he's going to put his ass to sleep. And I do not think it's going to go over 7 minutes. Book it. Seth doesn't cash in, though. I don't think. Not yet. Not yet, at least. I think Jack Perry is Americano. It was me, Punk. It was me all along. Can you imagine? Whatever happened to Jack Perry? Bronson Reed's promo sucks. He needs Heyman. Heyman is the perfect mouthpiece for a guy like Bronson Reed. I like Bronson Reed, but he's not a promo guy. Braun looking like a Cheeto. The tan is crazy on him, man. I mean, I don't know if you guys caught the interview between Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens, and they're talking about the tanner and how much of a fan Kevin Owens is not of that tan. But my God, it is. It's yeah. And when he lifts his arm up, and you can see underneath the white, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. He's looking like Ben Grimm, the Thing. If Goldberg wins, does that give more credit to John, saying his the last world championship? If he wins, if Goldberg wins that world title, that's a damn shame, first of all, to have someone like Goldberg, who hasn't competed in a matchup in years, and beats Gunther, who's supposed to be one of the top heels in the company. That for me, in terms of credibility, it does nothing for Goldberg. It hurts Gunther. It hurts the world title. And as for John Cena, I don't think it affects him. I don't think it affects him. It doesn't give him more credit. It certainly doesn't take away, because at least Cena is appearing more often and consistently. But it said that Pat McAfee match should have been 2 minutes. It should have. And I think it was like at 13 minutes. Oh my God, dude. It's going to go longer than 7, isn't it? But it's just because like I look at a guy like Gunther and I'm like, he should have put these guys to sleep. At least with Pat McAfee, he's athletic enough to where, yeah, he could have gone on for 10 minutes. Goldberg matches should not go over 8 minutes. You know, that's not his style. I was watching the WCW Championship matchup, 1998 in July. Goldberg versus Hulk Hogan, where Goldberg wins the world title in the Georgia Dome. And that matchup, I think, was like maybe 13 minutes. But 5 minutes of it was just walking around, you know, posing. And then there was some headlocks. Of actual action, it was maybe like 6-7 minutes. Goldberg's not built for those kind of matches. You know, it should be like a 6 to 7 minute matchup. And I'm fine with that. If it's 6 to 7 minutes and he takes that L, I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to complain. But I will say, it's going to be a busy weekend on Saturday. Because I'm going to be watching All In for sure. Saturday night's main event, I'll watch the replay. Great American Bash, I'll watch the replay. I'm going to watch All In. I think that's going to be the better show. But it's going to be a busy Saturday and Sunday for me. Dan says, I agree. I appreciate that, buddy. So Robert says, Brett interferes, kicks. Can you imagine if Brett interfered, gets his revenge, and Gunther rolls him up? I'd pay for that. I'd pay for that. To have Goldberg get a run-in. Or not Goldberg, Bret Hart get a run-in. I wish, but let's be real. That'd be great. I really hope Jericho and Copeland make their return. I think they are. I could see one of them being in the Casino Gauntlet matchup. Maybe Jericho. I stopped watching AEW when they broke up the Acclaimed. John, I literally thought about this on the last episode of Collision. Like, why did they break him up? Shout out to Dion, says, good night, family. Y'all are the best. Appreciate you, Dion. All love. All love, buddy. I appreciate you coming back and talking about pro wrestling with us and hanging out. We'll be going live again on Thursday. Hope to see you on Thursday's live stream, man. All love to Dion. Appreciate you, brother. Yeah, I was wondering about the Acclaim and why they broke him up. Anthony Bowens, they haven't really done anything with him. You know, I know, again, it might be a slow build, and we saw a little bit of a backstage segment between him and Billy Gunn and maybe pushing him a little bit up the card, I mean. And then as for Max Caster, it's like, dude, this guy's on a losing streak. He went from one of the best tag teams in the division to now just a certified jobber, losing every match. I don't know. They broke him up just to broke him up. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know about the majority of fans, but I don't care about Max Caster. I want to like Anthony Bowens, but I need some more out of him. I don't know. There was an opportunity there for a story, and the execution wasn't there. It wasn't there. If you're just joining us here, we're talking pro wrestling at the end of Monday Night Raw. It's a Monday. live stream. We're going to go live again on Thursday. Share our predictions for the upcoming weekend. Obviously, we have All In. Our newest video will be an All In prediction video that'll come out Tuesday evening. On Thursday evening, we'll go live and discuss Great American Bash, Evolution, and Saturday night's main event. I'll be sharing all my predictions and analysis of the matches that are currently scheduled for the upcoming weekend. A big week of pro wrestling, guys. I mean, Raw, NXT, Dynamite, Impact, Collision, SmackDown, and then all the shows I mentioned in the weekend. A very busy week here on YouTube. We're going to be going live a little bit more often, maybe a little bit more uploads as well. You guys have been doing fantastic. We have set out for the goal to have 4,000 by the end of the year. We're at 4,000 now. You can see this balloon up here. Shout out to Gabs. 5,000's on the horizon. I really think we can hit 5,000 by the end of the month. We've been growing exponentially in these last couple of months. The month of June was one of the more successful months that we've ever had here on YouTube, and I cannot express my gratitude and my appreciation enough towards you guys to continue to support this venture of mine and just joining on the conversation of pro wrestling. For me personally, it has always been a source of enjoyment, entertainment, and quite frankly, just relief. I don't know about you guys, but pro wrestling has gotten me through some of the darkest days of my life, and without it, I don't know where I would have turned to in terms of a form of relief. It has given me the best of times and some of the best, memories that I've had with not only, myself as a fan, but with my family as well. WrestleMania 40, I'll just talk real quick on it, was a very cathartic moment seeing Cody win for personal reasons, and to have that experience with my family and seeing them become bigger fans with me. I've always been a fan. My brother's always been a fan, and that's the way we've bonded over the course of our lives. But building this channel, building this community with all of you has brought me closer not only to my family, we were always close, but closer in this regard, as well as closer with the community that we have built. And I can say that you guys just aren't subscribers. You guys just aren't supporters. You guys are friends at this point, because I can rely on you guys to come back on these live streams and just hang out and just chill out and talk pro wrestling. And I will never get tired of expressing my gratitude and appreciation. All love. It's all love. John says, Deadass, you are building this channel nicely. I appreciate it. But you know what? It's not just me. It's all of us, man. It's all of us. I might be the one on camera, but you guys are as big of a part of this process as much as I am. And without you guys, this wouldn't be anything. If there was nobody out there to help support this and help watch and give me feedback on what they like, what they don't like, it wouldn't be anything. So give your guys as much a round of applause as anybody. So Robert says, good night, sir. Can you please break down the KD trade to Houston involving all 7 teams? Oh my God. Oh my God. That 7-team trade that involved the Warriors, and then we only got like 2 role players. Oh my God, Sir Robert. Happy for Houston. I'm not a Houston guy. We were big rivals with the Warriors back in 2015 to 2021-ish. I'm a Warriors guy, man. But the Rockets are going to be nice next year. I will say the Rockets are going to be nice. They were already good this year, but you add Kevin Durant and you keep the majority of your core there. Damn. I don't want to see the Rockets win, but they're going to be winning some games if they can stay healthy and get their rhythm and flow. But I appreciate that, Sir Robert. Love talking. When basketball comes around again, and maybe football, we could talk a little bit of sports too. I'm always down for sports talk. Love sports. I love to talk about sports. That was initially what this channel was going to be about, sports, but then we found our niche. We found our little rhythm with pro wrestling, and that's where we're at. But always more than down to talk about sports with you guys. I'm going to go ahead and call it here. Nothing but love, guys. Always appreciate you showing out for these live streams. Again, please make sure to go out of your way and check out the all-in prediction video that will be available tomorrow afternoon. Also, we will go live again on Thursday to share our predictions, our analysis, and our breakdown of Saturday night's main event, also Great American Bash and Evolution. Following that, we'll go live again on the weekend, Saturday or Sunday. I'll make sure to let you guys know on Thursday, as well as the community post. Nothing but love, guys. Thank you so much for joining us on today's live stream. Of course, this was the Raw recap. Hope to see you guys on Thursday. Everyone be safe. Have a great evening. Have a great week. And we'll see you all on the next one on Thursday's J Area Wrestling Show. Everyone have a great one.